Tom Brady's latest touchdown pass ever. 3 seconds remaining. Now, of course, that comes with a huge asterisk in regulation because, hello, he threw an overtime touchdown pass to win a Super Bowl. But how we got there, the 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes for Tampa, it's this play that has been called into question. Mark Ingram running out of bounds and not getting the first down. He was already hurt, wasn't comfortable, you can see, clearly pushing it. And when New Orleans did get a first down, Brady got the ball back for 2 more possessions and wins the game. Sarah Spain, around the horn to you. Did that one play really blow it for New Orleans, or are you going to credit Tom Brady?
It was big, and even Ingram has come out and said that that one hurts, and he owes his team an apology for it. But a lot of things happened after that play, which included Brady going 91 yards, throwing to 6 different targets on that first touchdown, and included the Saints getting the ball back, where they just needed to kill some time, and they managed to take up 21 seconds. A sack, really nice work by Carl Nassib on that, but man, you couldn't find some plays in your playbook that are going to take up a little more than 21 seconds and giving it right back to Tom Brady. It's almost like they forgot who was across the way, which I wouldn't blame them for based on the rest of the outing from the Bucs and Tom Brady. But come on, man, that was a joint effort on both sides to amount to that.
Ramona Shelburne.
I mean, it's almost as if they were trying to lose. Like, if you had a diagram of things you could do to try to blow a game, that's what the Saints did at the end of that game. Like, the Taysom Hill play, or the Mark Ingram play, it never comes down to one play. But as Sarah said, there were like 5 plays that they did that were terrible, blowing the game. And Tom Brady in the no-huddle offense, we've seen this movie before, like 44 times. Like, what? Did you forget who you're playing?
So it doesn't come down to 1 play. It comes down to 5 plays, Justin Tinsley. Was it about Tom Brady, or was it about what the Saints didn't do?
I think you can 50-50 because, look, for New Orleans to blow that game, Tom Brady still has to go get it. When the first 57 minutes of the game, it looked like they couldn't do it. But this really, you have to look at the New Orleans offense. This is an offense that scored 0 points last week against San Francisco. And for the first 90% of the game, the defense only gave up 3 points, and they still couldn't close the deal. So we can look at Ingram, and we can look at that, and yes, that was a big play. But now this is the first time they've been swept by Tampa since 2007. That was Drew Brees' second year in New Orleans. And I know we give a lot of credit to Tom Brady, but I also want to give some credit to Todd Bowles, who's been under fire recently, and deservedly so in some cases. There was a 4th and 10 in Tampa's own territory where they wanted to go for it, but Todd Bowles said no. Punt the ball, don't give up an easy field goal, and then the rest happened. And this is why Tampa feels like they still have a chance. They haven't played great all year, but when you have 12, when you have that quarterback back there, anything is possible because everything has been possible over the course of his 20-year career.
And Israel Gutierrez.
When he ran out of bounds there, Ingram did, the Saints had somewhere around a 99% chance of winning the game, okay, before he ran out of bounds there. We've seen changes like that, or turnovers like that in the game before. That, Ramona, because you mentioned movies we've seen before, that's a movie I don't want to see again. I want to see, I will always stop on that Tom Brady movie. I want to see the 91-yard drive to 6 different receivers and a touchdown to a rookie. And then, as Sarah mentioned, getting the ball back like that with his just Tom Brady energy, right? He had nothing to do with it, but he got it back like that. And then 8 more completions. Another rookie catching the game-winning touchdown. A rookie who pointed out after the game, by the way, that he was born right around the time that Tom Brady made his NFL debut. That's a movie I will stop on every time, and thank goodness it happened yesterday, because outside of that, that game was a dud. Thank you, Tom, for fixing Monday Night Football.
Sarah Spain, one more thing to add?
And we do have to mention the great moment from Tom Brady after the game when he said, when my daughter saw we were playing the Saints on her birthday, even she was like, Dad, I don't know. So that's how unlikely it's been in the past for them to handle the Saints. And to Justin's point, they finally got it figured out this year.
Any of you watching last night imagining, well, a Bucs loss, the way Brady was looking, any chance Brady packs it in and tries to work a way to San Francisco? There's no way. But
no one was thinking.
Okay, maybe just me. The 49ers don't seem interested in going after Baker Mayfield, who is available. Say they're good with Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson. Any other quarterbacks you can think of? This is the most fascinating storyline in December, Israel. A team with real Super Bowl aspirations. Can they still feel optimistic and confident about their chances with Purdy and Johnson?
Yeah, I think they can, and that's just why I think it's interesting, because they're probably the team in the league that's least quarterback dependent. They were already so much more responsibility on the head coach and his playmaking and that defense and the running game, which you add Christian McCaffrey to, and already having Deebo Samuel there as that weapon. And I think now it's just a little bit more responsibility for those other groups and a little bit less on the quarterback position. And I do think, largely you could say this about lots of quarterbacks. Hey, give me time, I can do okay. And Brock Purdy, given time against the Dolphins, did really well. And if they can continue to give him as much time as necessary and they still have all the options in that playbook, they can feel good going into any single game, including the playoffs, feeling like they can win it. Will I predict that they're going to win it? Will Brock Purdy come out and make a couple of mistakes that we don't anticipate? Maybe, because he's so young. But I think going into the game, that's a better chance than having sort of a Baker Mayfield come in, learn your playbook, and then all of a sudden you find out, oh, maybe he wasn't playing in Carolina because he just wasn't any good. I'd rather just worry about that in the offseason and right now play with who's comfortable.
Justin Tidley, your read on it?
Yeah, if you're going to have Mr. Irrelevant dropped into a scenario, this is it, because this situation is tailor-made for Brock Purdy. And also, who else are you going to bring in? You got to bring somebody else in to learn the offense a couple of weeks before Christmas? No, this team will protect Brock Purdy. They'll protect him from himself as much as they can. He's going to struggle at times. The Dolphins showed last week that when you blitz him, there is, of course, when you blitz any other quarterback, you can cause issues, but definitely with somebody in Brock Purdy's caliber. So when I look at the 49ers, there's always been a question about the quarterback, but it's always been their quarterback, which is why they're not going to bring anybody else in for this situation, because we saw with the 49ers, they started this season 2 whole quarterbacks ago. We knew what their intention was. That was to win a Super Bowl. And now this team was like, look, we got offense. We have weapons on offense. We're loaded on defense. The only thing we have to do is protect him from himself when it's needed. And I think they'll continue to do that moving forward.
Ramona Shelburne, are you as optimistic about the Niners' chances with their quarterback situation as is?
Yeah, I mean, they have the best defense in the league. They just went and beat the Dolphins with Brock Purdy there. I mean, to me, that they have a team that can survive without having great quarterback play. And Baker Mayfield is not going to give you great quarterback play. I mean, he struggled with his accuracy. His best year was when he had a great offensive line in Cleveland. That's one of the areas where I would say the 49ers could improve, is on that offensive line. And so they don't need him. They just need a manager who is not going to be a negative. And the negatives that come alongside with Baker Mayfield don't outweigh the potential upside of him.
And Sarah, Spain.
Yeah, as he said, maybe we'll find out he just wasn't playing well. I don't know if you think an 18.2 QBR, which is 520th out of 521 qualifying seasons since they started recording the statistic, is not playing well, then I guess that might have been what was going on. If people try to make it about his personality, I think it's just about the football, which sadly hasn't been good. I'm not quite as optimistic as everyone else about Purdy. I think you look good in the first one because no one's got a tape on you. I'm interested to see when teams get a look at him in more sample size, how they perform. The defense is great, the weapons are great, but take it from someone who knows you could have a great defense and not a great quarterback, and it's not going to get you very far. Just look at the Bears for the last 2 decades.
2 decades?
4 decades.
I was going to say 9 decades. 2 decades.
4 decades, 85, 95.
Speaking of the Bears,
Never been
Tinsley,
good
you
at
called him
math.
Mr. Irrelevant. We put that name to bed. I'm calling him Mr. Revenant because of how he waited and watched and came out like that. And nobody should be calling anybody irrelevant when you go out and you win a game. We'll move on. The latest on Odell Beckham Jr. and the sweepstakes. Cowboys are putting on a full-court press, and by that I mean a courtside press, because Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, and Beckham were at the Mavericks game last night. The footsie with the Cowboys and Beckham has been going on for weeks. The latest report from Chris Mortensen, though, is the team is worried he may not be in full health. Ramona, what do we have here?
Not real. I mean, look, they have 199 points in their last 5 games. It's like the most points you've scored in a 5-game span in franchise history. Their offense doesn't need all that much help right now, but he's still Odell Beckham, and you saw him be able to pick up an offense last year with the Rams and make a difference going forward for them. And so I think it's interesting that we're having this conversation right after the conversation about Baker Mayfield, because when this came up last year, the question was whose attitude would play well on a different team. Was it Beckham? Was it Baker? I think Odell, and the way he played last year for the Rams, gives any team, especially a contending team, reason to give him a chance.
There's Spain.
Yeah, I don't think they need him, but in the sport of football, what we've seen is at any moment somebody can go down with injury or something can change. So if they've got the money, and we know Jerry Jones' timeline is fairly short for wanting to win another, I think they're going to go after him. This feels like season 2 of Moonlighting or like season 3 of The Office. It's like a Maddie David sort of like Jim and Pam situation, like a will they or won't they, where we all know they're going to. It's just a matter of whether it'll be good when they actually do. And Jerry says he's not at all confident in signing him without knowing how healthy he is, but he's not really willing to work out for people, so we might have to find out on the wedding night whether it's any good.
Israel Gutierrez.
I was about to reference the Married Tyler Moore show if we want to go a little bit older in our TV references. Look, I do think that, as Ramona mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys probably don't need him. But I do think him coming off of this knee injury, it's probably best where you go to a place where it won't be all eyes on you, which is why it's difficult to say the Cowboys, because obviously if they make a move like this, it's going to be under the microscope, more so, let's say, than the Buffalo Bills. But I don't think that everybody's saying, hey, that's going to put them over the top and they're going to be a Super Bowl favorite if they sign OBJ. It's just the luxury of having him and looking at the NFC saying, hey, with him, we might be a Super Bowl, just might be able to get to the Super Bowl, maybe not be favorites once we get there. So I think the Cowboys is probably a good fit in that respect.
And Justin Tinsley.
CeeDee Lamb has 6 reception touchdowns on the year. The rest of the Cowboys receivers have 4. So you got to figure OBJ can at least help with that. Now, the no workouts and just vibes things that's been going on, if you're Dallas, you basically just have to trust that OBJ will be there. But look, if you're the Dallas front office, if you're the Dallas fan base, if you could potentially get Odell Beckham Jr. and Tyron Smith in the next couple of weeks, that could be huge moving forward.
And where else do we move than forward? There you go. Tinsley, Spain, Shelburne, and Israel Gutierrez also appearing on Around the Horn. Take a break. Fire us next. You know, I thought with Moonlighting, once they went to that, when it wasn't, you know, will they, won't they, once they went to it, it kind of loses it a little bit, don't you think? Yeah. Time Magazine, Athlete of the Year, Aaron Judge. Who you got, national panel? Let me hear it.
In a fight, Aaron Judge.
Brian Cashman says Aaron Judge is the sole focus of the Yankees offseason. They're going to put their money where their mouth is. They want him to be a Yankee for the rest of their life, and they're not going to rush him. Sarah Spain, a lot of deals went down this week. How do you read Judge still being out there and buy or sell the Yankees slow play?
Well, the language that the Yankees use, we wish we were driving, but we're not. And that's the fascinating thing when players get the leverage like this. It's kind of what we're seeing with OBJ, too, right? Like, I don't really want to work out, so you're just going to have to make that deal whether you know I'm healthy or not. And Aaron Judge is like, I'm going to take my time here. And if that makes things more difficult for the teams pursuing me, I guess I'll find out how much they really want me. The Yankees are not in a good position there to say, we need you to hurry up and make a choice, and we want to fill the roster with people around you, so they just have to wait.
Israel Gutierrez.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only play. You can't bully him and say, hey, we need a decision right now, because if he says no, then your fans will be like, you know, what the heck? But there is sort of a question mark there, because then if you do play the slow game, you have to get him. You have to absolutely get him, because if you're saying, hey, I'm putting where the owner's putting his money where his mouth is, then you're going to have to outbid San Francisco. And San Francisco has said, hey, we're not going to get outbid. So if you do get outbid and you're the Yankees, Yankees fans are going to be like, well, we got nothing here, and you said you're going to put your money where your mouth is, and that didn't happen.
Well, let me then tweak this question a little bit then for Justin Tinsley. The way the season ended for New York, they certainly need more than just Aaron Judge. What position are the Yankees in right now?
They don't have a position. This is what leverage looks like. This is what power looks like. The New York Yankees are like a 90s R&B video. They're standing in the rain with the boombox over their head saying, baby, baby, please come back. This is all Aaron Judge is doing, and shout out to him. So while the Yankees and the Giants hold this out in the court of public opinion, in the public, look, Aaron Judge is going to win at the end of the day, because he's going to.
But holding the boombox up, that goes back to the 80s. That's not even the 90s.
Let's say anything. Yeah, that's Peter Gabriel.
Wrong decade here, Tinsley. Go ahead, Shelburne.
But I think they know their guy, and I think they know what's important to him. And if he needs to go through a process to make sure that he really feels that he's happy, and in my opinion, he's going to feel happiest with $1 more than the lowest bid, right? Whatever the highest bid plus $1 is, that's where he's probably going. But if he needs to go through the process to make sure that's the absolute most money that he can possibly get, fine, go through the process with him.
Thunder 121, Hawks 114 last night. Trae Young played. Had a tough night, 1 of 7 from 3. He's working through some shoulder discomfort, and the franchise is working through some discomfort as well between Young and Nate McMillan, who weren't seeing eye to eye on Friday. And Young wound up not playing on Friday. Young said, it's unfortunate a private conversation became public. Ramona, what is this, and is it something or nothing?
Oh, it's definitely something. And I think the Hawks and Trae Young and Nate McMillan can solve this if they work this out themselves. But when it plays out publicly, it makes it hard because everybody's chiming in. And there's also the violation of trust that somebody leaked this and somebody confirmed a story to The Athletic who first reported this. And there's a lot of superstars who they'll take time to get treatment during a shoot around, that they won't necessarily be there for games that they're not playing in. Kevin Garnett, Doc Rivers always said, I didn't want Kevin Garnett there if he wasn't playing in a game because he was so moody. I didn't want him around the team. But they had a great relationship. They understood each other. Clearly, Trae Young and Nate McMillan
So you believe,
did not have that.
is this a crack that demonstrates there's something else under the surface?
There's an old school, new school thing here, and Nate McMillan is very old school. That was their 4th game in 6 days. They also practice on their off days. Trae was probably, instead of coming in early to get treatment so he could also be a shoot-around, he was probably saying, you know what, I'm going to get ready for the game. And Nate said, no, these are my rules. And so there's just some level of not understanding each other and being on the same page. That is a problem for a team currently 4th in the Eastern Conference.
I think this panel just realized they got into a conversation with a basketball reporter. Sarah Spade, how about you?
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of inside information I don't have. I will say this much. I'm going to buy what they told us about a miscommunication because the language that was used checked out, where McMillan said, listen, if you want to go on your own schedule and do the treatment during shoot-around when I want you to be here, then you're coming off the bench or you're missing the game entirely. And when he said missing the game entirely, he meant you're not going to play. And Trae heard that as not showing up. And he didn't show up. And that's part of the reason this went public. Everyone's wondering where he is. Why isn't he sitting supporting his teammates if it's just an injury issue? Now we wait and see if they can reconcile whatever this is between them, this old school, new school, and communicate better, or we find out if this rift ends up being something or points to something more about Trae and his decision-making and what he decides for himself versus what the team listens to when it comes to the coach.
Israel, something or nothing?
Well, it's interesting because in the micro, he actually showed good leadership there by not sort of giving his side of the story. If giving his side of the story would have helped him look good, he could have done that. Instead, he persisted and said, no, private. And the macro, though, the question is whether he's a good leader of a team and whether you can build around him. And that's been a conversation that's been had around the league. You go back to when it was heaviest, probably last year in the playoffs when they lost to Miami. So I think that is still a huge question mark.
Justin Tinsley.
And seeing as how my sources have told me exactly what Ramona Shelburne just said, I won't repeat her. But if you're Trae Young, you have to be like, look, I have to nip this in the bud beforehand because you don't want it to be where it's smoke, there's fire situation. And I hope that's not it. But people are going to keep prying until they find something else out.
See, Tinsley, there's always a way. If you do it with a little comedy, there you go. Sarah Spade.
Is your source Ramona?
And 7 p.m. Eastern. What do you get? The show that has everything? A 20th anniversary special.
Bomani would have never let me hear the end of that if he'd have won. And so I just, like Roger Staubach to Drew Pearson, I just tossed up a Hail Mary.
And then next thing I know, Michael Smith starts pop-locking on TV. Boston ball. Keep
Boston ball.
straight.
Boston ball.
What are you doing,
Give
Smith?
it Boston ball. Give me that. Give me that.
All right, here we go. Only time for one showdown. UCLA stunning UNC. Jen Hildreth on the call. NCAA soccer clock runs down, so that is the last 16 seconds of regulation for the game-tying goal from Raylan Turner. North Carolina keeper Emmy Allen was just blown up there. No whistle as she went into the net. But in overtime, the championship winner from Mary Carmen Reyes. UCLA coming back. It was pandemonium. Ramona, what just happened?
I mean, they were down 2-0 in this game. This game is in Cary, North Carolina, too, Tone. I mean, to me, though, it's Raylan Turner's header. That is an amazing goal. It was 16 seconds left, and I don't even know how you pull that off.
As a person who suffers from secondhand embarrassment, my heart goes out to Emmy Allen. She gave up 2 goals, and she got truck sticked into the net. That was a Southwest.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything embarrassing about that. I think they let off all the steam and smoke behind the net, and they couldn't take the goal back there. No. What a way to win a national championship. And what a way to win today, Ramona Shelburne.
Well, sometime later tonight, I'm going to finish Seth Wickersham's story on Andrew Luck. It is an incredible, incredible story. And as a Stanford grad, I would like to thank Andrew for all the memories he gave us, but also the parts that I have read are so deep and interesting about why he chose to retire and where he is now in his life. Like many Stanford students, he was a quarterback. He was great at what he did. He woke up one day and said, can I be something else? Is this actually what I want out of life? And had the courage and conviction to go find that. And he's still looking for it. It's an incredible read so far. Tonight, I'm going to finish it, I promise.